Welcome to Esalen Live, where we chat with change agents and swim deep waters in an ongoing exploration of human potential. I'm your host, Christine Chen. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Today we have a very special edition of Esalen Live. We're chatting about how we live in harmony with the earth and also ourselves. Hey, I want to let you know that just in a few weeks, I'll be hosting my very first ever on-campus workshop with my teaching partner, Robin Wilner. You may have met her in person or digitally already. This past year, she helped Esalen launch the Teacher in Residence program. She's a master yoga teacher and a holistic nutritionist, and she joins us on Esalen Live today. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Christine. So happy to see you.
Nice to see you. How are you celebrating Earth Day today? And by the way, if you have any ideas or comments about how we're giving love back to the earth today and maybe every day, share them in the comments. And if you have questions about this segment as well, do that. So Robin, how about Earth Day? What are you doing today?
I just absolutely love being outdoors, and I feel so lucky to live in California. So I have actually a big walk planned later this afternoon where I can just go outside in my neighborhood and just really look out at everything, the trees, the water that's around me, and just take it all in. And I think every day really can be celebrated as Earth Day. The more that, I can contribute to taking care of the planet. Recycling is huge for me. So yeah, I'll just be outside today.
You know what I did today? You know me, I just started an herb and a vegetable garden. And then I have more indoor plants than ever before. So what I did today, it's a couple of things. I picked up trash, and then I also put some mason jars out, some recycled mason jars, because we're supposed to get rain in a day or two. And I was like, wow, I should just, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but I put mason jars out to capture the rainwater, like mini rain barrels. So each jar goes into a plant in my house. If you have any ideas at home, please add them to the chat. Isn't that great? Why didn't I think about that before, Robin?
Such a good idea. And I also did not know you had a vegetable garden. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I see the lettuce popping up from the earth, and it's such a beautiful thing. Again, if you have any ideas about Earth Day and Ayurveda, which is the topic of our discussion here on Esalen Life, please add them to the chat. So I think when we talk about living a goddess life every single day, it is about living in harmony, not just with the earth, but with yourself as well. So Robin, as we talk about Ayurveda, those of you who have not heard of Ayurveda or come in contact with it in any way, there's some really easy basic principles, and I just want to get us all on the same page for this discussion. And so Robin's going to start us off by talking about the doshas in Ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga.
So our doshas are a way for us to really look at how we relate to nature by thinking about the elements that actually live within our body. And those elements are earth and water and fire and space and air. So we kind of give a title to three combinations: Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. Kapha refers to having more of the earth and water element. Pitta refers to more of the water fire elements, and Vata refers to space and air. And what I love about this is that we can be any combination of all of these, but there are going to be some that are more dominant or subdominant in our life. And then we can start to look at where we feel more in a state of balance. So that's really what those doshas are all about.
Right. Another key thing that we want to talk about is a key principle, very easy to remember: like increases like, and opposites heal. So as Robin said, there are these three doshas. It said that everything has an energy. And the way we work with these doshas, if there's too much of one, that's like, which increases like, which might be an imbalance. It feels like it might manifest in a way of, say, fire in a hot area, your primary fire energy. So you might have manifestations of some health ailments or behaviors that are a little too fiery because there's an imbalance. The way to heal that is to bring in some more air and some water. So usually I do the interviews in Esalen Live, but today she's going to also interview me at the end of this, so I'm kind of nervous. So be kind to me. But let's start with you first. So
I learned from the best.
So Robin, when did you first meet Ayurveda?
Great question. So it was about 10 years ago that I was enrolled in my 200-hour yoga teacher training. And we got a very small snippet, like an intro into Ayurveda as part of it, because there was so much to cover. So I kept going. I enrolled right away when I was finished in my 300-hour continued ed training. And I took a full week to immerse in Ayurveda. And it was interesting, at the very same time, I was also enrolled in graduate school for holistic nutrition. And clearly you can see that I really like to be in school. But I remember that I was actually recovering from shoulder surgery at the time. So my arm was in a sling, which meant that I couldn't really do the physical practices. So even though I was learning so much about how the practice of asana could really be used to Ayurvedically balance one's doshas and imbalances, where I got really curious, because I couldn't move, which is, very different for me. I started really listening into the stuff about food. And of course, I was learning about so much of that through my holistic program. And I was really intrigued by how it was the same language that I was experiencing from both my graduate school program and this Ayurveda program, but in a different dialect, if you will. So I, love food. I was so curious about food and what ways that I could use food as medicine for my own body. And you said something so interesting, Christine. You talked about like increases like. I'm that fiery, passionate person who, would have a habit of like staying out in the sun too long, or, just having too much digestive upset and irritability from certain foods I was eating. So I found it really, really intriguing that I could use not just movement, but also food and breath and so many other aspects of the practice to get it better into a state of harmony with myself.
How do the doshas show up for you every single day, and how do things manifest? What do you do? What are some of your practices that really help you every day? If like there are fiery people out there, maybe this is a great time to talk about that.
Yes, to all the fiery people out there, please do not go into a hot yoga room in the middle of summer when it's 90 degrees out. Do not do that. Not a good idea. It will definitely make you irritable. But what shows up for me in a good way is that because I have this passion and this structure, which is part of that fire dominance, I love lists and I love to check things off, so I can really get things done. And I can, also I have my sub dosha is very spacey and airy. So I do have a lot of creativity and imagination. I love to talk, as you can tell. If things are off, I have to be really careful. So I will spend a lot of time near water. So you can see me there near the ocean. This is my happy place. If I am not near water, I can't literally sit still, which is another thing. So I started to learn about myself that I was in constant motion and that I was always bringing in yang energy or heat or, a lot of vinyasa. So I found the practice of yin, which became my absolute favorite go-to. And it still is, especially as I'm aging and things are changing hormonally and my body's changing. So this rest that is so conscious and so mindful while you're in a state of actual discomfort at first was such a tricky thing for me, because I was like, I don't want to do this. I just want to, rest when I'm sleeping. But I have realized that balance of yin to the yang energy that's so prevalent in my life has made such a difference. It's bringing so much more peace into my day.
And you mentioned right off the top of this, for Earth Day, you're just going to be outside and really just appreciate the outdoors. I know that being outdoors, you had also said, gives you a little bit of balance, especially with your secondary Vata dosha. Can you tell us, in terms of Ayurveda, what being outside does for you?
Oh my gosh. This picture reminds me, I was in a beautiful walk up in Marin County in California and saw these redwood trees. And to me, there's just that grounding energy that I feel when I'm outside. I'm sure, anyone can attest to when you're somewhere where you can't hear the city around you and when all you can hear are the sounds of nature, my mind shuts away from that sort of monkey mind spinny feeling to just being completely centered and calm and present. I mean, here I live in San Francisco, so I can see the water and the trees and the ground. I just need to be very close to those elements. Otherwise, I feel very kind of closed in. So it's that feeling of wanting spaciousness and really expansion, as well as that feeling of calm and grounding.
Yeah. Can you give us a couple, like one or two quick tips? And Ayurveda is not a quick thing, but there are some
Yeah.
things that are pretty usable for everyone, from your perspective as not only an Ayurveda practitioner, but also as a holistic nutritionist.
Absolutely. I know this is a tricky one because, in the past year, we haven't all had access to fresh foods and whole foods, maybe in the same way that we would normally. But the biggest thing that I offer folks is use your intuition when it comes to food. If something comes from the ground or if you're getting it in its natural state, it's likely going to be very nurturing and very healing for you. And that doesn't mean that you don't cook foods, because that's still, you're getting a food in its natural state. You get rice as a grain and you still have to cook it, right? But that's still a food that comes from nature. So I would say eat as many whole foods as you can and try to stay away from things that aren't real food. Right? And then the other thing is like the feeling that we have going into eating is super important. And I'll say this to people a lot. Think about the moment before. You don't want to eat your anger or your frustration or your deep sadness or whatever it is that you're feeling. If you're about to consume food and you're feeling a really heightened emotion, take some time. And this is where yoga is so beautiful and everything becomes Ayurveda. Because if you just sit and breathe deeply for a few moments prior to whatever it is you're about to consume, it will change the state of your digestive system before you actually eat. So that we're not eating our feelings, as I like to say. You're not consuming your anger and trying to digest that at the same time as your food.
If you love what Robin's adding to this and it's helping you in some way, please send her some love in the chat. So, Robin, what's the most important thing and maybe the thing you're most looking forward to sharing during the workshop with if people end up coming to Esalen?
Yeah, I am so excited, of course, to talk about food and nerd out about it. And this isn't the training that I'm going to be talking about, like what foods to eat and all that, because that's a different kind of training. But this is more about the why and the where and the when and the how. So we'll create some rituals around food so that you can bring more joy and mindfulness to your meals. And of course, I'm also really excited about teaching anything to do with yin. We have some yin-yasa, which is combining both vinyasa and yin together. So I can't wait to do that.
And I also wanted to add, like, this is a very dense science. And one of the things that can happen is that with Ayurveda, you can get overwhelmed. So what we like to do is keep it simple and keep it happening every single day. I think that's probably one of the best things we could do to bring ourselves to harmony is this consistency. So Robin, thanks. That was such great information. I appreciated it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's my turn. I want to now ask you questions, Christine, because you are so amazing at interviewing others. So please share with us. I know that you're such a fan of Ayurveda, that you use it every day in your life, and you've taught me a lot about it. Can you share with us a little bit how you first met Ayurveda and what you love about it?
Oh gosh, I learned about it. I started learning about it 20 years ago during my very first yoga teacher training. This approach from India has so many things that are similar to the approach to food and harmony that I had growing up from my Taiwanese parents, who also had lots of Japanese cultural rituals, and because Japan occupied Taiwan when they were growing up. So there's a lot of Japanese influence. So these rituals of how we live has been a part of my life forever. And I want to say, when I came across the Ayurveda system, when I did my very first training about 20 years ago, it really spoke to me because I am primary pitta, to like you, kind of fiery. And how it shows up for me is I'm a huge person with organization. So Ayurveda is a system, like it's not a diet, it's not a bunch of rules, but it's the system that when you start to apply the system to your life, it can completely change your life. So it was really empowering for me to know that I could do simple things like eat a few more cucumbers and reduce spicy food when I'm in certain environments or when it's a certain time of year. Like that was huge for me, and to be able to organize my life around that. Simple things, big difference. My skin got better immediately, and now today, after almost 15 pretty good years of practicing this and teaching this, I hardly ever get sick. except after my first COVID shot.
Yes, which we can't help that. But yeah, you talked a little bit about your fiery nature. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this dosha for you shows up every day, and also your secondary dosha, which I know, but you can share with our listeners as well. How do
Hmm.
these doshas show up for you, and what are some of the things that you are doing in your daily life to integrate Ayurveda?
Yeah, my primary dosha is pitta. So I mentioned motivated organization. Pittas also really love to work. Like we're happy when we work. When we work a lot, because pitta is fiery, burnout can be a factor. So I've really had to teach myself how to strategically and intentionally reduce my burnout by doing the opposite of what I really like, which is work. So I try to stop working at a certain time every single day, and that has really, really helped me. One of the other things that I've done, Robin, is I've stopped watching super intense movies late at night before I go to bed so that my
Yeah.
brain isn't like angry before I go to bed, because one of the imbalances of Pitta brain is like this intensity, irritability. My secondary dosha is Kapha, and that is sometimes like slower, a little heavier. So in the middle of winter, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so it's like rainy and muddy and cold and dense, and it feels like that a lot of the year. I have to really be careful not to eat 7 pieces of bread from the bread basket. And I'm saying that that's like a shame, but we all know what it's like, and
Yeah.
it's so delicious. But it is mostly dense, and it can make me feel heavier, and it can make me get to this place where I'm sleeping in all the time, which can also lead to something that I cope with, which is like chronic depression. And so those are some of the ways that it shows up, and some simple changes that I make based on this system that has really just taught me so much about my life.
I know that it can be really challenging for folks to think about doing this on their own and showing up, every day. So, what would you offer as some ways that you can integrate little things into your life, and also, what are some of those rewards that you have experienced from doing that and making those simple shifts?
Oh, yeah. I'm a really big proponent of scheduling things. So I like to, and that's Pitta, like I like to organize things. So I try to organize my life to make sure that I hold myself accountable. And maybe some of you at home have a different way that you hold yourself accountable. You could like meet up with a buddy, even online, and make an appointment to do your practice, right? So for me, movement is really key, especially in the heart of winter. And in the summertime, when I move, my asana has changed a whole lot. Let me show you a couple pictures here. Oh, by the way, Adam Clark, thanks for your comment. When I started practicing Ayurveda 3 years ago, I immediately lost all of the inflammation in my body that I didn't even know that I had. Adam, I'm 100% with you. It's so, so, so important. Thank you for sharing that, Adam. This is me on a camel trek in Morocco. It was like 120 degrees. I don't know why I traveled to Morocco in July, but I did. So, a big part of balancing pitta and heat is heart openers. You can see me doing camel on a camel. And then this was in San Diego, also another very hot place where I used to live, hip openers. So you can see like my left hip externally rotated, hip openers like triangle pose, or even on the ground, even better, Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose, folding forward. So like quiet, water, all those things. I never used to meditate a lot. I was this at the very beginning of my practice 20 years ago. Go, 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 work, 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 work. What else can I learn? What else can I learn? Hey, Christine, how about you just sit, right? And so this is actually at Ernest Hemingway's home in Key West, and I chose a moment to meditate because Florida was hot. My husband took this picture actually. When I wasn't asking him to take a picture, he takes pictures. And these are, lotus flowers from the water, from the cool mud. This beauty rises through the water, and green is really beautiful too. It's the color of the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra, which is air. So those are a couple of the ways that things show up. I've changed my life that way as well. I used to be, the inversion girl, and now I'm the sit and lay on a bolster girl.
I love that. And I love that I've known you while this has all happened. And I also just want to brag about you for a little bit, Christine, if that's okay. If you
Okay.
guys don't know this, Christine is not only an award-winning journalist and a proud Golden Doodle owner, as you can see there, but she's also an incredible yoga teacher. I mean, she's taught anywhere from Times Square to studios across the country, from New York to San Francisco, now to Seattle. She's also written an incredible book called Happy Go Yoga. And as you can tell from listening to Christine, she has very practical tips. That's something that I absolutely love about you. It's so practical, and thank you for writing that. And that's such an accomplishment, and something that we can all integrate very easily and very quickly
Yeah.
into our life.
Thank you, Robin. And I also do want to
Yeah.
mention that I'm really, really proud of the fact that in that book, you'll notice that the illustrations are of diverse yogis, like every age, every size, a lot of different ethnicities, kids, adults, everything. So I just want to, whatever it is and however it is that you come to yoga, whether it's through the lifestyle practices of Ayurveda or anything else, like it's there for you, right? It's just so important to just know it's there for you to bring harmony into your life.
What are you most excited about sharing in our time together at
Oh,
Esalen?
yeah. So let me show you a picture of this because this will just capture your attention right away. We're not going to do this at the retreat at Esalen, but this is called Netrabasti, and I want to bring this in because it is one of the Ayurveda treatments. It is a dough ring that you make. Some warm ghee is poured into your eyes by someone who knows how to do it. So do not try this at home. It can bring peace and nourishment to your eyes and also treating some eye disorders. This is me learning Netrabasti during school. This relaxed my pita brain so much. I think I took a nap right after this, whereas I never thought about rose as a healer. Now I'm rose everything because as someone who can be sharp and super direct, rose is softening, beautifying, and it's a way to take down the edges. And I think during this year, and Helen Shafran has added to this conversation so beautifully. She said, because the moments are the ones in which it's harder to just breathe, when the urge is to take action. And this last year has been so challenging for many of us. Whatever you can do to soften the sharpness of all the things that we have been through in this last year, like how hard it's hit us, the softening is one of the ways we can bring ourselves into harmony today. So I'm really excited to share that and then share the beauty practices of Ayurveda as well. And asana is part of it, breath work is part of it. Spots are filling up, by the way. Ayurveda for the Goddess Life, May 7th through 9th. So please definitely join us.
Yes, and if you want to read a little bit more in our Esalen blog, Christine actually wrote a great post. You can see here called "What is a Goddess Life?" And Christine, can you tell us a little bit more about what's in that?
Yeah, it talks about Purushartha, the four aims of life, living in harmony with the whole self, regardless of your age. And it's just a really interesting, um, I think, simple way to go about this kind of more complex philosophy that can help support your practice and well-being. So, everyone, thanks for your comments. Thanks for joining us. Give us a little love if you like what we've added to the conversation to help. Maybe you feel better on this Earth Day or every day. Robin Wilner, the first teacher in residence at Esalen, and my teaching partner for this workshop coming up. And I'll see you for so many more interviews where we all learn together. Happy harmony, everyone. Whether it's filling mason jars with rainwater or getting out and enjoying nature, happy Earth Day. Happy personal harmony. Take care of yourself, everyone. We'll see you very soon.